gentlemen, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. That's why the show's coming out late. But it's okay, because this is the super show for the Welch Report. I'm your host, Jean-Luc Welch, and today we got very special guests, a collaboration episode. The multiverse of the sports world is coming together as we have Mitchell Baldwin and Dono coming on the show from the Got Next podcast. Brothers, how y'all doing? How y'all doing today?
Great, man. Great, doing excellent. Appreciate you for having us on. Love the energy in the intro, man. Get you hyped up.
Yeah. Again, I had to. This is because of technical difficulties. I had to kind of muster it back up. But again, we do what we do because, again, this is one of the greatest shows on the platform. At least we're trying to make it that way. We want to vote to 1,000 to monetization. Let me get some ad money. Let me get some revenue so we can get some better cameras, better lighting. I can, move out. get my own place, and so I can bring better content to you, the people. Yes, the people, as Bane said in Batman. But again, this is a super show. This is the culmination of the entire NBA season, and specifically the NBA Finals. The Warriors have been crowned the NBA champions. Steph has won Finals MVP in a very convincing win in Game 6. So, from the Got Next podcast, I want to hear from you all. How did you all feel about this win and about the essentially performance of the Warriors throughout the series?
Yeah, I just feel like, I honestly, let me just start with this. I had Boston winning this series, to tell the truth. I had the Celtics beating them in 7 games in this series, and I feel like in more games than not, Boston beat themselves. They shot themselves out of a lot of games. The turnovers also killed them. Warriors are one team you cannot turn the ball over against because they can get out in transition, and we know how lethal they are from 3. And even though Clay was off for most part of this series, you had guys like Andrew Wiggins and Gary Payton and Otto Porter stepping up, and I just feel like that kind of defines the Warriors. That defines a dynasty. You can continue to evolve no matter the era, the decade, and you continue to fill in with young guys and guys that kind of fit the current game, and just continue to find ways to win. So I just feel like this cemented Steph's legacy even more. He was already a top 10 player all the time, but he's knocking on the door of that top 5 conversation.
Okay.
He's revolutionized the game and just changed it. You can't deny his impact, and just kudos to the Warriors. They're definitely one of the great dynasties in basketball.
Okay, no, I'm gonna say hold your horses on the top 5 conversation, top 5 talk. We're gonna have our gripes with that in a little bit. But Mitchell, how did you feel about the series?
I say it now, and I said it before the series started. Warriors in 6, man. That's all I gotta say. Look, I said it before, man. I think it's really understated how the Celtics were able to beat the Bucks in that second round series, just simply because Chris Middleton was not playing. And it's like if the Bucks don't have a go-to scorer, like you literally have Giannis and Drew Holiday trying to make shots at the end of a game. So, like, honestly, they were going to beat the Bucks, but even at that point, I'm like, I wasn't really impressed with the Celtics run, other than beating the Nets. That was impressive. I'm not going to lie. That was impressive. But beating the Bucks and then beating the Heat, as we were also a depleted team, I was never really impressed with the Celtics. So when it came to the finals, I had Warriors in 6 the whole time. And, Dono had to send me $20 because, of course, he had Boston. And I had the Warriors, man. But let's get to what this means for the Warriors. I think that they are definitely cemented as one of the greatest dynasties we've seen in the NBA. 4 championships in 8 years. Steph finally has his Finals MVP that he's been trying to get forever. So I think that this definitely cements them and Steph's legacy going forward.
See, yeah, in terms of having, the all-time talk as a team, this is one of the greatest teams or dynasties that we've ever seen. Consistently with that core of Steph, Clay, and Dre, they have essentially revolutionized the way that offense is looked at. They you know what they did? They perfected everything that Mike D'Antoni wanted in offense to be. Fast-paced, running gun, fluid, and in all facets, we can get a bucket from any which way, from anybody. That's the key thing. Anybody on the floor has the ability to, at any given point in time, become a legitimate scoring option because their offense is like water. They adapt to whatever situation arises or whatever the defense does. And they do, again, the smart thing of taking what they're given. Now, again, they want to take threes, but even when given a small space in terms of shooting in terms of shooting space, with a player like Steph and Clay, it just opens up the floor to where they'll adapt to just that little amount and still get a high percentage shot. And so in terms of offenses, this is probably one of the best offensive dynasties I've ever seen. Defensively, we've seen some better ones. The Spurs with their dominant performance, led by Tim Duncan, one of the greatest defensive players, consistent defensive players the game has ever seen. Of course, you got the Chicago Bulls, with their runs, the bad boy Pistons during their, when they won their 2 titles. But in terms of offensive ability, I don't think I've seen a more adept offense. And regardless of what you want to say about, the era that they played in, defense wasn't able to really be defensive. You can't touch nobody. No, forget that. Regardless of that, it started with Mark Jackson. Steve Kerr took what Mark Jackson made in the Warriors organization and with their ability to play offense and perfected it and turned it into an all-time great system that regardless of what team you want to match up against, anybody would have a tough time guarding that team. Many of them would lose. You can look at it and say many of them would lose in a lot of situations to that Warriors team. So I would say, yeah, they're one of the greatest of all time. And I can comfortably say that. I don't like saying it. And granted, if that's just me, I don't like saying that the Warriors are great, but that's normally because, friends of mine, Bryce Foreman, fans of the show, and fans of the Warriors more so, and they've just given me it's made my existence abysmal with this whole ever since this run. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. But more importantly, not more importantly, but just as importantly, as much as we tout Steph Curry, we're going to get into his legacy in terms of the all-time greats, like we alluded to earlier with top 10. But in terms of with Boston, now that you see the pitfalls, especially with Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart, and again, like I've said consistently, this is a team that beats themselves, and they've never been able to get over the hump because they can't grasp the ability to get the kill when possible. We saw multiple times in this very series, when the Warriors should have been able to beat the Warriors, like when Steph had gotten cold, only scored 17. And there was another game when they were tied, what was it, like 89, 89, or 86, 89. And there was like 4 minutes where one bucket probably swayed the momentum for whoever scored. At that point in time, probably was going to win the game. And they couldn't capitalize on that. Jason Tatum coming up short and playing diminished in terms of his offensive ability, putting the ball in the bucket. Now that we've looked at this entire series and seen Boston kind of, again, fail again, what do you think they have to do to finally say, hey, we can get a chip?
I feel like they just need that one veteran point guard, like just that one presence that can kind of like just calm them down when things get a little erratic when they're taking those terrible shots. Because I feel like that game you're mentioning, I remember what you're talking about. They were down by 3, and they kept settling for 3-pointers, trying to tie the game on one shot instead of just still attacking the basket, because they were getting the stop, but they just were taking terrible shots. So I feel like that definitely plays a factor. Like, they just need that guy that can kind of calm down and say, we're going to run our sets, we're going to run this pick and roll, and we're going to get the best shot and then rely on our defense. Because when they relied on their defense and then took smart shots, played great offense, Boston was a tough team for anybody in the league to beat in the second half of the season and then this whole postseason. Like Mitch said, when they played against Brooklyn, it was like they kind of just put everything together at once. They were playing great defense, and then offensively, they were just playing great basketball. It wasn't really that many dumb shots. I feel like another problem that contributes to the bad shots is like I feel like sometimes Marcus Smart contributes to the bad shots.
Yes, he does.
So Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown may turn the ball over, and Jason Tatum come down, pull up for a step back 3. Then Marcus Smart will come down after a rebound and just pull up for a 3 in transition. Those are 3 terrible shots. Like 2 bad shots and then a turnover. So even a guy like, Rajon Rondo, they brought him back to Boston. Somebody that can kind of just like calm him down, play a couple minutes, and kind of help them close games out. That'd be a huge help for Boston.
Yeah, you're right. Mitch, what you got to say?
Not agree more with anything Donovan just said. I've been saying it for years, but I think right now is the best time to get rid of Marcus Smart. This is the highest his trade value has ever been since he's been on the Celtics, being that he just won a Defensive Player of the Year award. So there's a lot of teams in the NBA that would love to have Marcus Smart on that team, the Miami Heat being one. But they really do need that veteran point guard presence. Absolutely. Like, you can't have two guys, like two of your star players that take really bad shots on a team and then y'all expect to win a championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, JT, the fact that he loves that sidestep three, like sometimes he relies on that a little bit too much. Jaylen Brown, like his handle is a little bit broken. He definitely needs to work on his handle in the offseason. But like, he likes to pull up for that mid-range pull-up. And like, sometimes it's going to be there, sometimes it's not. But sometimes it's not the best shot. Even though you can make a shot, that doesn't make it the best shot. So it's like you need to get a point guard in there that can tell people, hey, you're not going to go take this shot. Like, we need to hold the ball in this situation. We need to be patient. We need to find the best shot. We got 24 seconds to do it. Let's find the best shot we can get on the court. And they don't have anybody like that right now because they're mainly focused on the defensive end. But if they do get rid of Marcus Smart, it is going to be a question mark of where their defense is going to come from. But like Donald just brought up with the Nets series, Jason Tatum basically shut down Kevin Durant. Like, we're not going to act like that didn't happen. Jason Tatum was one of the best defensive players in the playoffs at that point. Like, I had never seen Jason Tatum play that level of defense ever. So it's like if he can continue to get better on the defensive end, they're not going to need Marcus Smart, and they're going to have a point guard that can actually help them on the offensive end, then, which makes it easier, so they can expend more energy on the defensive end.
See, I agree with everything that Dono said. I agree with everything that you said, Mitch. My opinion on Boston, and this is going to be controversial, I understand. Actually, no, it's not controversial because right now he's shown it. I don't think. Well, let me rephrase that. Unless Jason Tatum. First off, before anything, Marcus Smart, yes, if they can trade him right now, absolutely. Because you can get, again, without Marcus Smart, you can still have an elite defense. You just need more depth because Derek White, abysmal in this final series. Abysmal. And he was taking, 10 shots? I was almost taking like 10 shots a game. Nearly every game, and most of them were threes, and he kept missing. And he had some bright spots. The majority of his production was very mad. Not mad, just straight up bad. So getting more depth on the Celtics would help them out a lot. Understandable. However, everything still falls on Jason Tatum in this respect. Right now, I'm really concerned. I'm willing to say I don't think Boston can win a championship with Jason Tatum. And I feel fairly confident in it. Reason being is because of the fact that you got to understand that you just brought up, you say wow all you want. In fact, thinking that's how most people feel when they hear comments like that. But I don't care. You got to understand.
You should have a bomb one. You need to drop a bomb.
No, don't worry. Look, I'm getting my soundboard correct. One day at a time. We're gonna add more. I gotta copyright. Gotta make sure I don't get sued for the stuff I use. So playing it safe for the time being. But again, I'm the bomb. So I'm the one that explodes when I say what I gotta say. So again, if the sound effect doesn't do it, the words I say most likely will. But let me get back on track. I don't think they can win a championship with Boston, or I don't think Jason Tatum is going to lead Boston to a championship, rather, regardless of who they put on the team, because of the fact that right now, with the way that he is approaching the game, he plays outside of himself. I said this in Game 5, and it came apparent in Game 6. Jason Tatum, when it comes time for playoff settings, gets sped up to the point that now he's rushing. You don't see that with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was one of the most consistent players on the team. But even with that, him being consistent in terms of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum was still putting up comparable numbers. And that's not what you need from a star. You can't be playing side by side with your number two. The reason why the Bucks, and I say and will continue to say that the Bucks would have won a championship if healthy, and next year I got them getting to the finals and most likely winning it, depending on who they face. If it's the Warriors again, they blow them out in 5. And I will say that definitively because of the fact that Boston and Milwaukee have similar constructed teams. The only difference is that Milwaukee has a guy that plays as the out-and-out number one on a consistent basis on both sides of the floor. If you get great defense from Jason Tatum like he did on Kevin Durant, then you're not getting stellar offense. If you're getting stellar offense, you don't get great defense at times. And then if you're getting both, he plays just good on both sides of the ball, which is great if you're not the number one option. But if you're the guy on the team, you have to be able to play at an elite level on both sides of the floor, or at minimum, continually stay elite on one side of the floor for the entirety of a series and or playoffs. And Jason Tatum right now hasn't shown that he has that capability to do so. Luka has. Luka's had less help, less defensive presence. A coach that, again, I respect Jason Kidd, but, and he's a great coach, but I'm still needing to see more facets of his coaching. And again, that may come with, once he gets the personnel, we'll get to see full flourish again with Christian Woods as a legitimate, center, having on the team. You say what you want. Say what you want. Christian Woods and Luka, I think it's going to be a really good combination, in my estimation. If he underperforms, hey, that's on him. But if he does what he's supposed to do, okay, hey, I think we got a great combination going and a great young core around Dallas that is going to be a legitimate threat. But Jason Tatum has everything at his disposal, yet he's continued to underproduce. With age, people say he's going to be able to adapt and become the face of the league or a top 10 player, or just give it time, he's going to be that star everybody's looking for. I don't think he's going to be that. I don't think he's going to be that. And it's not until he understands that he needs to take his time and slow down. If he can't get that, no matter how great of his offensive skill set becomes, I don't think he's going to be able to reach the pinnacle of his career success and get to a point where he can lead his team, or any team for that matter, to a championship. Because if you're still playing at a level comparable to your number 2 star, that's not okay. Because if you're playing at that level, that means that you're being inefficient. As we saw with Jason Tatum, shooting about 37% from the field while Jaylen Brown's shooting 41%. That point I'm saying, that's just inexcusable. It's just inexcusable. So I don't think he's going to be able to lead any team to a championship until he gets that moniker in his game, or that attribute in his game of, if I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to play at my pace. I'm not going to let anybody force me to play outside of myself. If he can't master that, I don't care how good he gets skill-wise or in terms of things that he can do on the offensive end, he's not going to be able to utilize them to its fullest capacity. Hence, we're going to see similar performances on a nightly basis, on a yearly basis rather than playoffs.
It's not, I don't hate anything you said, but I think it really gets understated how inconsistent I think both of them are, JB and JT. I think that I've never seen them play well together on the same night. It's like insane. They can never play well on the same night. It's like one is either really good or the other one's really bad, or they're never on the same page ever, JB and JT. So it's like, I don't know how they're going to ever be able to win like that, honestly, because it's like both of them are just so inconsistent. You never get the same amount of production from either of them. Jaylen Brown was averaging 14 points going into this series. Mm-hmm. And then he's just hooping. He was actually outplaying Jason Tatum in some of these games. Absolutely. If the Celtics even won this, honestly, Jaylen Brown should get Finals MVP. Should not have been Jason Tatum at all. And I think that it even speaks to a bigger point that Jason Tatum led the entire league in the playoffs in turnovers. He led the entire thing in turnovers, and that speaks to the point that they need a point guard.
Yep.
They need somebody that can facilitate and make easy shots for both of them, so then maybe they can actually be hot on the same night, because I've never seen it when they actually need both of them to step up on the same night, It doesn't happen. It's either one or the other every time.
That's a phenomenal point. So now that brings us to our next question. In terms of Boston, if they could get a point guard, who would you want them to get? And Dono, I'll let you go first since Mitch you already went. How do you feel? What point guard would you want the Boston Celtics to get?
So in terms of point guards available, just so we're clear, who's out there for them besides, of course, like John Wall, probably maybe Colin Sexton.
My thing is, and we talked about this on the podcast yesterday, Dono. That pure point guard is kind of dead in the NBA right now. Their best bet, honestly, should have been to go after Lonzo Ball. That I think would have been a great fit for them as far as defense and playmaking. He's going to give you that at the highest level.
And he's shooting over almost 40%.
That's the other thing. Yes, and he's dedicated to the gym. He's going to work. You know what I mean? Like he's changed his entire game basically since he first got in the NBA. So they should have went all out for Lonzo Ball. I kind of hate that they keep going after marginal guards. Like, they got Dennis Schroeder and then Kyrie Irving left. And then they're like, okay, let me replace him with Kemba Walker, who's just a worse Kyrie Irving. So it's like, I don't really understand like why they can't just like fully invest in that point guard position. Honestly, Lonzo Ball would have been perfect for them, but I don't really know, honestly. John Wall probably, but he costs too much money. So I don't think that's not going to work either. So I got nothing.
I don't really know who's a realistic option for them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let you finish.
Maybe Rondo is an option. I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I don't know if he's still signed with Cleveland. But I mean, they just need like that point guard. If there was a way for them to get John Wall, I would like John Wall in the Celtics. He might not have that same explosion that he once had, but in terms of being a great passer, his IQ, what doesn't John Wall bring to the game that could benefit Boston? You want to bring up his shooting. You can't tell me Marcus Smart's a better shooter than John Wall. They probably shoot about the same. They're erratic shooters. That's always been John Wall's Achilles heel. Not trying to be funny, but he couldn't really shoot. He's been with the Wizards. I'm a Wizards fan. I grew up watching the Wizards. So I seen John Wall. His downfall has always been his jump shot, but if he can knock down a mid-range every now and then, and sometimes he has solid nights where he does knock down a three ball, but you can't say Marcus Smart is a better shooter than John Wall. There would be a drop-off defensively, in my opinion, but as long as you got Robert Williams back there and he's healthy, I don't feel like their defense would take that much of a drop-off. So I feel like John Wall is that guy that can kind of fill in, and he has a lot to prove. So when you have guys that have a chip on their shoulder, he was an all-star, all-NBA caliber player. He got a chip on the shoulder too, so I think he would play some motivated basketball.
I feel you. I'm sorry for laughing at your Achilles heel.
That was funny.
I'm so sorry.
That's just facts. That might have been terrible timing, but I apologize. John Wall, my man. John Wall, Mitch can vouch for it. John Wall is probably my favorite player coming up. Him and LeBron. I rock with John Wall.
I do too, but again, it's a travesty. It's a travesty that we got that it's. I apologize. That sound is for me. I laughed at John Wall having an injured Achilles and Dono essentially subsequently making a joke, not intentionally, but just having serious injury. You should never laugh at other people's downfall or plights. But it was very clever. Was very clever, regardless of the fact. If I am, I'm okay with John Wall. Mind you, like you said, they can trade Marcus Smart. He's got the highest value, so they can maybe trade for a higher tier player rather than just settling for a John or a Rondo or somebody like that. Nothing against Rondo, but in terms of if they got John Wall, I don't know if I would like that because of the fact that at least what you could do is rely on Marcus Smart's defense to be above, like above average, not above average, excuse me, great to elite. He won Defensive Player of the Year. With John Wall, who was a good defender, in majority in part because of his athleticism, now that you take that away, his playmaking is going to be hindered because he doesn't have the same drive and kick ability, because he won't be able to drive nearly as well as he used to be able to make the defense collapse. He's already not a great shooter, so then that already takes away anybody closing out on him, unless he works on his game and all of a sudden shows, hey, I evolved like Derrick Rose and adapted my play style to still be a valuable asset. And yes, his IQ is still there. He's still smart. And I'm going to get to you, Dono. But at that same time, is he still going to play like he's what's his contract, like $100 million, 80 something, whatever it was?
That's what I was going to say. I think the contract is the bigger issue. And then if he gets injured again, they're screwed because you're paying $47 million to a guy who's not even playing.
Exactly. So. And I'm not even worried about the injury. It's the fact that if he still thinks he's going to play like that, or he's still that guy that was paid that money, for those reasons I just talked about, for the elite defense, the athleticism, ability to drive, to overcompensate it for his inconsistent shot, and he still thinks he's that, I'm still that John Wall, when he's not, we're going to run into another Russell Westbrook situation, in my estimation. But Dono, what do you feel?
So I was just going to throw this out there as an option for y'all. What about De'Aaron Fox? You never really know what the Kings are up to. So what if Boston tried to make a move for De'Aaron Fox?
That would be very interesting. That I would love that. I would love that.
Because I would love that move as well. And I just feel like De'Aaron Fox would be a perfect fit for Boston. He's athletic, he's young, and we don't really know what the Kings' plans are. They got Davion Mitchell, who's solid, but then they traded Tyrese Halliburton. So you really don't know what the Kings are up to. So I feel like they can at least try to kick the tires on that and then kind of see. But I wouldn't mind De'Aaron Fox.
It's probably going to take a lot because of the fact that they settled on De'Aaron Fox as their guy. So it would have to be Marcus Smart and probably another core piece to Boston in exchange for Marcus Smart, maybe like a pick or something, whatever the case may be. So you may have to give up a decent amount, but hey, they have that depth to do so. They have that depth to do so, and the way that the Boston organization is constructed, especially under the new coach, and with the previous legacy of, what was it, Brad Stevens, I believe that was coaching?
Yeah.
They can make anybody work, the majority of people. They can make the majority of people work in their system. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would not be opposed to that. This series may look a lot different if you actually have De'Aaron Fox on the court being the point guard for the team. This would, oh man, that would be, I would love that.
I got a quick comment I got to make. Dono, you know how I feel about De'Aaron Fox. Tell me what De'Aaron Fox has done in the league since he got in the league. I need one thing that he's done significant.
Wasn't he averaging like 18 points a game?
I think he was above 20 this year. He was about like 20, 22, maybe 23 per game and like 7, 8 assists. De'Aaron Fox is a very good. Now, let me put it like this. He's on the Kings. Who's watching Sacramento Kings basketball? You're not going to get your just doing the Kings. Like, everybody knows Tyrese Halliburton is talented, but he was on the Kings. Then we saw when he got his own chance on the Pacers, he was putting up games with 14, 15 assists. Like, the Kings have talent, but at the same time, the coaching is an issue. Their front office is an issue. So when you're not in the right situation, it's almost like, I feel like it's almost like how Washington is in football. You could bring good players to Washington, but somehow they always never pan out because of the front office. Like, I feel like it's always about the fit and where you land. If De'Aaron Fox landed in a different place, we could be talking about a completely different player right now. He's still talented.
My bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I think that there's also that question of he could also be really bad. We have never seen De'Aaron Fox play playoff basketball. Never. We've never seen him in the postseason.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that experienced mess. We haven't seen him in playoff. Don't do that, Mitch. And here's why. There's no reason to say, oh, we've never seen him in playoff basketball. We've never seen him in a big time moment when he's on a bad team and he's still putting up all-star caliber numbers. He had better numbers than Andrew Wiggins. And we weren't questioning Wiggins on whether he was going to be able to show up when he got time for the finals. So what the world? So again, you don't question De'Aaron Fox's ability to play in a big game moment, the question should be, is he able to consistently deliver when he's got time to gel and make a cohesive team that's a good team, coupled with, again, you say what you want. He is the modern day version of John Wall, like we're talking about. Fast, explosive, has a better shot, great court vision. Isn't as good of a defender, but is a good defender. Can drive to the hole, can kick, is smart, is athletic, it has high IQ. Again, the whole reason that the Kings are on the map is because of the fact that De'Aaron Fox is making noise. And making efficient noise, despite having nobody else around him and everybody good around him getting traded away. So if he's on a good roster, if he's on a good roster with a legitimate number 1 and number 2 option, and all he's got to do is say, now that I have even more space to work, the eyes are off of me, and I just need you to do what you do when we call on you to do it. You can't tell me that they wouldn't put Boston in a completely different field. We be talking about them as one of the best teams in the league. And not as a pseudo-good team, but as like the legitimate, this team now has everything to get to and win the finals. One thing that I've kept saying, they've had it, but they've never been able to adapt and finish the job. With De'Aaron Fox, you may not have that problem. They may be able to actually finish the job if you got a player like De'Aaron Fox on the team.
I just completely disagree. Because De'Aaron Fox won. Listen. Okay, You say the Heat has not had a good roster. I think that is very false. Listen to me. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield. You got Tyrese Halliburton that was on that team. You had Domantas Sabonis that was on that team. You have Rashawn Holmes that was on that team. You have Harrison Barnes who was on that team, who won a championship with the Warriors. That is more than enough to make the playoffs or the play-in. They haven't even been in play-in discussions.
Hold on.
Come on, bro.
Time out. When did Domantas Sabonis get on the team?
Around the All-Star break.
So didn't have a full year to get acquainted with a new, better big man that probably by next season you're going to see the fruits of that true cohesion with them having all this time to work in the offseason. So again, even with Domantas Sabonis, go ahead.
From January to the end of the season, we saw a complete flip-flop in the Celtics. A complete flip-flop. They were terrible before January, right? So a month later, you get a better player in Sabonis. You bring in another big man who's probably the best big man they've had in years, since probably DeMarcus Cousins. And then they can't get up 3 spots in the rankings to make the play-in. They have not been in the play-in, guys. Not the playoffs. Are you talking about playoffs? The play-in.
Are you talking
come on, this is crazy. John Morant has even made it far with less. John Morant has had worse teams on the Grizzlies than the Kings have had together. That's a fact. That is a fact. And they've made the play-in, beat the Warriors in the play-in, and then they made the playoffs this year. Far in the playoffs. Like, what? What are we talking about here?
Again, hold on. Just to make sure you clarify, were you referring to Boston or were you referring to the Kings?
I'm referring to Boston and how they went from like probably the 7th seed to around were they even in the playoff? I don't even know if they were in the playoff hunt at like around December and January. But they came from that to being one of the best teams in the East. And the Kings can't go from the 15th spot to the the 9th spot or 10th spot to make the play-in? That's insane to me.
Again, did Boston have relatively the same roster the entire year? In terms of having the major pieces. The major pieces.
When did they get Derek White and all those guys? Wasn't that around the All-Star break?
When did we call Derek White a big piece?
Derek White was definitely a better piece for them. Without Derek White, they would not be the Heat.
Okay, granted, when he got traded, or was it traded picked up? I forget how we got there. But when he got there, I was high on him. Don't get it twisted. He used to play on the Spurs. I love the Spurs. Anybody from the Spurs, especially like if Lonnie Walker goes on a new team, I'll be excited for him. Athletic, decent defender, getting a better shot, all that. But again, let me not get sidetracked. But again, in terms of De'Aaron Fox got a major piece in terms of Domantas Sabonis, who was an all-star. Well, he's considered one of the elite bigs in the league. Not compare them to like Jokic or Anthony Davis or like a Giannis, but in terms of like he's in the upper echelon of big men that are legitimately skilled and can make a difference. Somebody like that, it takes time to mold them from Marvin Bagley to the market or to Sabonis. That type of upgrade with that type of position and player takes time to really meld. Okay, let's get our offense clicking to get to your spots because of how you play. That doesn't mean that it can't happen. It's just understood that it takes longer. So all I'm saying is when it comes to judging De'Aaron Fox, if he was on Boston for the entire year, it's fair to assume that his individual play on that type of team would be incredibly advantageous and put them in an even better spot to win a championship with all the time to gel.
Maybe. I got one more point, or maybe two more points actually. But just I don't know if that's fair to say. Like if he cannot, like even if you just take Sabonis out, we don't even have to talk about Sabonis, and he got traded at the All-Star break. I still gave you a solid roster: Rashawn Holmes, Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell, Harrison Barnes. That's 5 guys. You cannot tell me that 2 years ago Desmond Bane was nothing. Who else was on their team? With Kyle Anderson, Steven Adams. Like, bro, the Kings roster is better than the Grizzlies roster, and the Grizzlies have made it so much further because they have John Morant, because John Morant is that guy. De'Aaron Fox has not even made the play-in. They've never even been in the running for the play-in. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't just put him in the Celtics and then automatically they're a winner. He hasn't even shown he's that good on the Kings.
But they logjam his position. The Kings had obvious needs in the front court the last 3 to 4 years, and each year
they don't believe in him. They don't believe in him like that.
They drafted Halliburton, then Davion Mitchell, then they signed Buddy Hield, and people forget they had Bogdanovich before they traded him. They were long at guard. They had so many guards out there. It was hard, and then they had no front court help. Marvin Bagley, I guess he didn't pan out. Sacramento.
He wasn't really getting minutes for them though. So like it was mainly like Hassan Whiteside and somebody else. Rashawn Holmes is actually a really good big. He's actually a solid big.
He's solid, but it's like this isn't the same Harrison Barnes that was solid on Golden State. This is Harrison Barnes, the Sacramento Kings version. This is the man that went to the Mavericks, and the Mavericks gave him a big deal. And the Mavericks got rid of him within the first year.
Hey, he still averages 18 on the Kings. He averages 18 points. That
would be a problem if he didn't average 18 on the Kings. He's getting a great majority of the shots. He's on the Kings. If Harrison Barnes is your second, he's probably their second, one of their top 3 scoring options. That's an issue. That's a problem.
I think he was now. Before they made that trade for Tyrese and all that, like to get rid of Tyrese, it was honestly Tyrese. It was Tyrese Halliburton, and they had Buddy Hield, who was really good. Like Buddy Hield was great for them, and then he goes to the Pacers and he's hooping like nothing like he was on the Kings. So it's like I don't know, but I can't just say that De'Aaron Fox is automatically dropping on the Celtics and they win. That's all I'm saying.
See. Hold on. Here's what I have to say. Here's what I have to say when it comes to the whole De'Aaron Fox situation. When talking about De'Aaron Fox and going to a better situation, one of the biggest gripes that I've had with the Kings is the culture as a whole. One of the reasons why, we talk about, they didn't believe in them, or they drafted all these guards, and they don't. And I believe, Mitch, didn't you say that? Oh, they don't believe in De'Aaron Fox or something along those lines? Clearly, they don't believe in him.
What I'm saying is, in football, if you already have a quarterback and you start drafting quarterbacks, there's an issue with your quarterback.
So if you wait. So if you have an established quarterback and you start drafting quarterbacks, that's considered stupid, correct? In the world of football,
one quarterback like as a backup or something, you want somebody as a predecessor. That I'm cool with that, But like if you're drafting multiple guards, like they're bringing in a bunch of guards. Like, so I think it's an issue.
But out of all the guards that they brought in, hasn't he outplayed every single one?
No, I don't think Tyrese was actually outplayed. I really don't. I don't think Tyrese Halliburton was 100%. I think they got rid of him honestly before he could really do much.
And it was a bad fit on the team.
We talking about Tyrese Maxey, correct?
Halliburton.
No,
Halliburton. Excuse me. Halliburton. So
more, I think, they had De'Aaron Fox because De'Aaron Fox is on the ball. Of course, he's going to be on the ball the most. They were trying to run Tyrese at the 2.
So you have to blame the front office for that because they should know the fit of their team. If they know De'Aaron Fox is the point guard and this man could ball, why would you draft another point guard that needs the ball? That's what we're saying. The issue is the front office. The front office has to help the player and maximize a player's talents. I feel like they aren't doing the best job at maximizing his talent.
You know why they're not? Because Vlade Divac is in the stinking front office. This is exactly the fact. Again, the fact that this brother's in the Hall of Fame befuddles me.
Vlade Divac is a Hall of Famer?
Yes, he is.
I know that.
I didn't know that either.
I did not know that.
That's funny.
I believe, in fact, hold on. Somebody check it just to make sure if I'm not wrong. Somebody was talking about consideration, and they were giving him consideration above Ben Wallace. And I get, the time that people.
Ben Wallace?
Again, mind you, the time it takes for people to get on the ballot is different depending on when you retire. Vlade retired before Ben Wallace retired from the league, hence his eligibility was sooner. Now, if I remember correctly, he's in it. If somebody has their phone, feel free to check, please.
I just don't care that much about Vlade.
I do, if you don't mind. Because right now I'm using, if you don't mind, because my phone is currently my camera. Again, hey, click the like, leave a link, subscribe, or not leave a link, click the link. Not click the link, share the link, excuse me, with everybody as we take a quick fact check break so that we can make this community better and I can get a camera so that everybody can come in and hear and see my beautiful face.
He's in the feet. Yeah, he is. He's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame. I thought so. Doggone it, that's a disgrace to basketball. That's an absolute disgrace to basketball. Talking about we take everything into account. Bump that. Your butt averaged 9 points for your career. And you got carried by Magic to the playoffs and Chris Webber when you were on the Kings. Granted, you got robbed when you played against LA. The refs were against you heavily. But despite that, you yourself are not a Hall of Fame player, yet he's in. I have my gripes on that every day. I go to sleep and wake up in a cold sweat every time I look and see he's in the Hall of Fame. Every time. But let me get off that soapbox. I can do a whole show on that one point alone. But in terms of my disdain for him as a player and a leader, specifically as a leader when it comes to running an organization, he's one of the main reasons why, as great of a quote unquote, as you would see roster that you would allege that they have, their roster is only gonna be able to go somewhere unless they have when I say elite, I'm talking about top 15, top 10 player, like a Ja Morant. Now, we've never, again, DeMarcus Cousins was at one time that, but again, injuries plagued him. So we never got to see if he could really, with this specific roster, get that team. Because the DeMarcus Cousins team that they used to have versus this team now, it's not the same. DeMarcus Cousins with this type of lineup, hey, we're looking at a different story maybe. But that's because he was a top 15 player. We've never called a top 10, top 15 player hovering around that part. We've never called De'Aaron Fox a top 15 or rather top 10 player.
Oh.
You can maybe make an argument that he's top 15. Maybe. I said maybe.
He's top 25. He's top 25.
Top 25 comfortably. You can potentially make an argument for top 15 if you really dial it down. I mean, really. But because he's not at that level, this type of roster isn't going to go anywhere with him. But you put somebody that's a top 25 player along somebody else that we consider a top 15 player that has just as well of a well-rounded roster in terms of when you look at the names, you see, okay, you got a Rashad Holmes or Rashawn Holmes, you got a Robert Williams, you got a DeMarcus Sabonis, you got a Al Horford, you have, and then you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown there, boom. Now you have everything, the same thing with the Kings in terms of overarching development of talent, coupled with a dominant star, or it's supposed to be a dominant star, and a dominant number 2. You can't tell me that adding De'Aaron Fox to that roster wouldn't make them so much better.
I think it can. I'm just saying, I don't think you guys are seeing the negatives that it can also bring. Because playoff basketball is different than regular season basketball, as we all know. James Harden and Russell Westbrook are some of the best regular season players I've ever seen. Their issues start as soon as game 1 begins in the playoffs. They're like it's different. And it's different when you've never been in that type of situation in the NBA of all places. Like, this is the highest level of basketball. Everybody is the most motivated that they've been all year. And we just haven't seen De'Aaron Fox in that situation. So we haven't seen him in a serious game. Give me a serious game, like all or nothing game for De'Aaron Fox since he's been in the NBA.
Wait a second, hold on. Wait a second. By that logic, when LeBron finally got to the playoffs, when he got to the playoffs for the first time, you would say, he's not. Did you say he's not going to perform?
Well, it's possible.
Because he's never been there.
Possible. It is possible. Yes.
Were you saying that the moment was too big for LeBron when he first got to the playoffs? Was that a concern?
LeBron and De'Aaron Fox are two completely different people. LeBron was a top 5 player.
No, I'm not comparing the talent. I'm comparing the expectations. By what you're saying, you can apply that to any player who's never been to the playoffs before. That the Bowman may be too big. They may not be able to get to where they need to go. They may shrink. They may collapse. And again, that's the case for anybody. You can't use that as just a end-all, be-all of, okay, that's the biggest reason why I don't think he's going to be able to do it, because you can say that for anybody.
I'm not saying that's the biggest reason. That is definitely one of the reasons, bro. Russell Westbrook and James Harden are the best regular season player. If you see them and you're like, the playoffs are about to start, you're going to think they're going to be fine. But no, it's different in the playoffs, bro. So I'm saying that's not the biggest reason. My biggest reason is because he hasn't made an all-star game. He hasn't been even near the play-in for 6 years? It's been a long time since he's been in the NBA. He hasn't been in the play-in run one time. Not the play-in, not an all-star game, not a rookie of the year. He's done nothing. Literally, on the Kings, he's done nothing. So I'm saying you can't just drop him on the Celtics and then automatically be like, they'll be a better team, because we don't really know that. We don't really know who the real De'Aaron Fox is, because like you said, bad organization. He hasn't really had the full opportunities all the time because they had a lot of guards coming in and out. So we don't really know what De'Aaron Fox is right now.
So
from what I've seen, he's not that great.
So you mean to tell me at worst he couldn't fill a Jordan Poole role that the Warriors have?
As just a scorer?
As just a scorer.
He's better than Jordan Poole. He's a starter. De'Aaron Fox is a starter.
It's different though, because he's on the Warriors. And Jordan Poole doesn't start. That's a whole different thing. So De'Aaron Fox would not come off the bench. I can tell you that right now.
And you're right. And guess what? There were times when he started. So Jordan Poole got in that position, and everybody was like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what's going on," even though he's never been to the playoffs. Shoot, he's never been on a good team for a number of years. Outside of wait, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Did he get drafted by the Warriors, or was he traded to them?
No, he was drafted, I believe.
Okay, so he was drafted. So let me rephrase it. So he's been on a good organization,
right?
Since he's been in the league. However, even still, we were not sure, and I did not expect this Jordan Poole to show up even in the regular season, let alone the playoffs. But we didn't give him any flack on whether he'll be able to produce in his role. That's the key. In his role. We're not talking about De'Aaron Fox leading a team. We're talking about De'Aaron Fox being put in a role and filling the majority of the gaps and blemishes in Marcus Smart's game. That's what he would be asked to do. And if you and shoot, let's say you keep them both. Let's say somehow Celtics are able to keep Marcus Smart and De'Aaron Fox, and they keep Marcus Smart in the starting role. You mean to tell me that De'Aaron Fox wouldn't be able to come off the bench? and lead the second unit at worst if that was what he was asked to do?
At worst, yes, but that's not what he's going to be asked to do. That's my thing. Like playing against second units in the NBA is not against playing the starters.
And again, you're right. Did Jordan Poole not play legitimate minutes against the starters, the majority of, if not the entire starting lineup of the Boston Celtics?
Was he starting in the playoffs?
He started a little bit in the first round when Steph was still hurt.
Starting in the first. Listen to what I said. Listen to what I said. I said Jordan Poole got legitimate minutes, even if he didn't start off the game, similar to Lou Williams. May not start off the game as a starter, but they'll play a clean 15 to 20 with him, Steph, Clay, Dre, and Looney as the main five against, like in the finals, Tatum, Jalen, Horford, Robert Williams, and Marcus Smart. He saw legitimate minutes, and he came through. And again, mind you, he was shaky, but when he got hot, boom, he hit big time shots consistently. So again, if Jordan Poole can do that, there's no reason to say that De'Aaron Fox, who's had more experience, has more skill sets, and is a better, smarter, and more complete player than Jordan Poole, could not do the same role as a Jordan Poole on a Boston Celtics team against the majority of the NBA.
He would not be asked to do the same things that Jordan Poole does for the Warriors on the Celtics.
You're right. What would he be asked to do?
He would be asked to manage JT and JB because we're asking for that pure point guard that can get them in their spots and tell them what shots to take. So he'll be asked to manage the offense. He would be asked to score when needed, but probably I don't even really think they need scoring because, I mean, they got JB and JT. You don't really need to score all the time. But, I mean, score when he's open and stuff like that. But I think that's different than Jordan Poole because he was brought up in that Warriors system where it's clearly, the hierarchy. It's Steph Curry, it's Clay, then it's Draymond, and then it's Jordan Poole or whoever else can step up.
Mm-hmm.
For the Celtics, we were literally just questioning how we don't know if Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum is the better player. And then you're going to bring De'Aaron Fox in that mix. We don't really know who he is. What if he even comes on the team and he winds up being better than one of them? Then it's a whole, it's different. Like, you don't really know. They don't know the hierarchy coming into the team, so you'd have to establish that first, and then he'd have to manage those personalities, which he's never had to do before. So I'm saying I can't automatically give the confidence in saying that he can do all of those things because we've never seen him do it before. That's all I'm saying. Not saying he can't do it, but it's definitely different when you're on like a winning organization and you have to manage personalities and things like that. When on the Kings, he was just given the keys, honestly, from day one. He's not going to be given the keys for the Celtics.
So let me make sure I got this right. Just to make sure.
Poole doesn't have the key for the Warriors.
No, you're right. So let me make sure I got this correct. To make sure I get your stance. Because I don't want to sway your words. De'Aaron Fox on the Celtics would not have the keys. Correct.
No.
Okay.
No.
Would not have the keys. So because of that, he would be playing in the role of secondary option. Having that role and being asked to do less while still being just as effective may be something that may get to De'Aaron Fox when it comes time for playoffs. And like you say, even though granted, we know who's the better player. Jason Tatum is the better player, but he isn't playing like it. So because of that, and because so let me just make sure I got this right. Because of his inconsistency and his tendency to play down to his ability in big moments, and play at the level of a Jaylen Brown and potentially a De'Aaron Fox if he got on the team, that would make it so that because you don't have a true hierarchy, De'Aaron Fox may get, confused and potentially overwhelmed as to what I need to do, and potentially may do more that hurts the team or do less than he's actually supposed to do. And because of that erratic position of you don't know what's what in the organization, that may be a bad spot for him. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because, even if you bring in like Alonzo Ball, he knows his role. He's not going to be one of the main offensive guys. He's going to shoot when open, and he's going to play defense and organize the offense. He knows that. And he's been doing that with really good players, like with LeBron James, with Brandon Ingram. Like, he's done that before. Like, we've seen him in that spot. But like De'Aaron Fox, even like you say, if the Kings organization is that bad and we haven't even seen the real De'Aaron Fox, I don't want to put him in a box in the Celtics where he has to only do two things, because he may be better than one of them at scoring or whatever. Like I want him to be in a situation where he can actually be free to do or be who he is, instead of just putting him in a box where like he's only going to be able to facilitate. He's the third option when honestly he could be a second option. Like, you just never know, honestly.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't agree, but I feel you. I don't agree at all. I think you're just giving him. You're putting. You're using. I feel that the concern is being overly insinuated only because he hasn't been put in the position. If he gets put in the position, I believe he will deliver. I have no doubt he will deliver. Because you can't tell me that if you hate Russell Westbrook. If he was on the Lakers during their stints of trying to get to the playoffs and they got there, you can't tell me he wouldn't be playing better than Russell Westbrook and wouldn't have a more consistent delivery when it comes time for playoffs. Based on what you said about Russell Westbrook.
My issue with Russell Westbrook is I don't think he understands how bad he is in times. I think that even when he was on the Thunder, I think at times he thought he was better than Kevin Durant, being honest. I think at times he seriously thought he was a better player than Kevin Durant. And I think that's why KD eventually had to leave. So it's like, I think Russell Westbrook, he doesn't really know that he's like a third option, honestly, because he doesn't play like a third option. But like, I think De'Aaron Fox would definitely be better as a third option, yes. Because Russell Westbrook, he doesn't really know, again, with the hierarchy. I don't think that he understands that he's not a part of that big two, big three. I don't even think it's a big three. I think it's big two in Russell Westbrook.
Phenomenal. Points are noted. Answer the question. If Russell Westbrook, if you had De'Aaron Fox instead of Russell Westbrook in the playoffs,
yeah,
you would expect De'Aaron Fox to perform at a higher level.
Yes.
Then I rest my case that he would be able to perform on Boston. I rest my case. If he can do better than
because they didn't even make the playoffs.
If you believe that De'Aaron Fox can play at a more consistent clip than Russell Westbrook when it comes time for playoff basketball, then that should mean that there is no doubt in your mind. That should mean that there's no doubt in your mind at De'Aaron Fox's ability to produce. That should mean. Because Westbrook's been in playoff situations before multiple times, and we're still having these same questions. And if you're able to say that he can perform, that you're more likely to say that De'Aaron Fox will be able to consistently perform against a Westbrook that, despite what you want to say about his athleticism and play, has the experience, then that should mean that De'Aaron Fox should be able to have the benefit of the doubt that when it comes time for his first time in the playoffs, he won't fold.
But because of how little I think of Russell Westbrook, I don't think that's very saying.
How little is irrelevant. The point still stands. The Bucks been to the playoffs. He's been to the finals. He's been to the finals. Russell Westbrook has finals experience. He's had finals.
That was 10 years ago. This version of Russell Westbrook.
It does not matter. It does not matter. I don't care when he had it. That means that if he's gotten there, he knows the pressure more than anybody else, and he knows what it takes and what you need to do to be able to live up to that. Because regardless of whether you live up to it or not, once you experience finals pressure, you know truly and wholeheartedly whether you live up to your expectation or not. Okay, this is what it's going to take for me to actually get to the mountaintop. At worst, even if you don't play to it, you know it. And then you know if you played at that level or not. Because there is no question once you get to the finals of whether you're ready or not. Because when you're there, it's unequivocal that you know, okay, now I got to play my best, period. Regardless of what happens, regardless of what outliers, I got to play my best. And that pressure is at its highest. So you know at minimum what to expect and what you need to do when you get there. And what it takes to get to a championship because you're on the cusp. So if he's gotten there and is still has people like you, and at this point like me, saying that De'Aaron Fox would play better in the playoffs than him, then that should end the argument that De'Aaron Fox should have any qualms about his ability to produce. And when it comes time for his first playoff appearance.
I agree with that with this version of Westbrook. Not the one that was in the finals. That version of Russell Westbrook, I don't think he would be better than Russell Westbrook in the finals. In the playoffs. I don't believe that. This version, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So I'm like, yes, De'Aaron Fox could make them make the playoffs, but that doesn't mean that his play in the playoffs would be better than Russell Westbrook. I haven't seen Russell Westbrook in the playoffs on the Lakers.
Understandable. My point is that even though he hasn't been to the playoffs recently,
right,
it's still valid that because of his playoff experience, he should be playing better. And since specifically when it's time for the playoffs. And what were his numbers in Houston when he got to the playoffs in Houston?
27-7, I believe.
I believe very inefficient.
Oh, it was extremely inefficient.
It was horrible. Horrible.
It was really bad, yes. But I think if you put De'Aaron Fox on any of those teams that Russell Westbrook was on, I honestly think that they do the same, if not worse.
So at minimum, he'll produce at the same clip as Russell Westbrook.
At minimum, maybe. So that's why I said if not worse. Like, he might be worse.
So
at maximum, I think he'd do the same. Yes, at maximum, not minimum. At maximum, he'd probably be the same as Russell Westbrook.
Maximum, he'd be the same as Russell Westbrook, but more efficient. Score less and more efficient.
Right. But I still think the Lakers win that series. I still think the Heat win the series.
You're right. But his individual production would be scoring less but more efficient.
Right. But I don't know if that would equal a finals win.
I'm not saying it would equal a finals win. I'm strictly talking about his ability to do what he is supposed to do. That should tell you that he will be able to do what he's supposed to do. That should. It can't leave questions. Okay, maybe. Okay, yeah. You just don't want to say it's fine. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's fine. You have your opinions. Understand?
It's okay. We don't have to talk about De'Aaron Fox anymore. Let's move on.
We don't. It's all good. I don't agree, and I don't agree. But it's fine. It's A-okay. Now let's get to the other side of the coin. Instead of talking about Jason Tatum and the Celtics and who they need, let's talk about not Boston, Golden State Warriors, and specifically Steph's legacy. What is now that he got Finals MVP, now that he's gotten his 4th championship, what are we able to say that he is sniffing the top 10 in terms of all-time greats in the NBA? Dono, you go first.
So to me, before this series, he was already top 10. Just with the ring now, he's pushing that top 5 conversation. He's got to be in that top 7 but top 10, I feel like he was already there. I feel like he's pushing that top 5 conversation now. And honestly, at this point, it's kind of down to who you prefer at that point guard position in your all-time top 5 lineup. It's between him and Magic Johnson. They both changed the game in so many ways, and I feel like to truly be defined as one of the greats to ever play basketball, you have to be something the game has never seen before. The game never seen anything like Michael Jordan. The game's never seen anything like Magic, and you've never seen anything like Steph. Like, you got a lot of players now, and even like, just speaking from personal experience, like I coached a youth basketball team, and I would have kids like come up and just pull up for 3 on fast breaks. Like, that's unheard of. That's Steph Curry. Like, there would be no Trae Young without Steph Curry. So with his impact on the game, just the way he revolutionized it, and just the way people kind of try to like mimic his style to be able to handle the ball but still be able to shoot from anywhere on the basketball court, it's insane. This man he's without a doubt he's right now for me. He's in that top 7 conversation players ever. He's top 7. He was already top 10. He's top 7.
Okay, all right, Mitch, your thoughts on this whole top 10 debate?
I agree. I believe that for me, when I do a top anything ranking, when I do like a top 5, I have to show respect to each position. So whether you put Michael Jordan over top of Magic Johnson, none of that matters to me. As long as you have a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and a center, and you're starting in your 5. So if Steph, even like Donald said, it's between Magic and Steph. So even if you have Magic before him, when I make my bench lineup with my second five,
yeah, he's the sixth.
He's the sixth. That's what I'm being so serious. Like I'm being so serious. Like if I have to make a second lineup, Steph in the lineup, which means he's top 10. So yes, he's top 10. Absolutely. I don't think that you can be second best at your position and then be top 5. That's disrespecting. You can't have Kobe and Jordan in the top 5 for me.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And I feel like it's kind of tougher, not to sidetrack, to like kind of have like your point, and just speaking back to my point of how you have to be something I've never seen. We've seen Kobe before. His name was Michael Jordan.
His name is Michael Jordan. Thank you. Right.
So don't get me wrong. He's one of the all-time greats.
Yes. He's in the top 10 for me because he's the second best shooting guard I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, I think that he's also top 10. But yeah, it's for me it's 2 separate 5s. So if you're second best, you're going to be in that second part of the 5. So yeah.
I don't agree with that type of gauging players, because for me it's plain and simple. I don't care what position you are. Are you the best? One of the best I've ever seen, regardless of what. I don't care if you're a center. It doesn't matter. And I don't think that Steph has reached that top 10 level. And here's why. It's not because of his revolutionary thing. It's not because I'm not discrediting his like barrages and changing the game and all that stuff to handle the offense. I get it. One of the most iconic players of this era. Cool. Understandable. That still does not, in my estimation, put him in the top 10 because of the fact that you have to be, if you're going to be top 10 player of all time, you have to be able to say, out of everything you do, regardless of your size, is there legitimate qualms that I can hold against you that are substantial, rather than just, you just wasn't as good as this. And that's his defense. It's hard for me to put Steph, Steph. It's hard for me to put Steph in the top 10 because of the fact that when I say inability, he is not an abysmal defender.
No, he's not.
But he is a bad defender.
Yes, in general, yes.
He is a bad defender.
A lot of effort on that side. I'm not going to act like he does not try. He tries his tail off. He's just short.
We've seen short players be good. Isaiah Thomas. I would have to stop at Isaiah Thomas. He's one of the greatest defensive point guards in history. He was the leader of one of the greatest defensive teams at 6'3". So
it's give and take though, because he doesn't have Steph Curry's offense.
Yeah, but he averaged 24. And behind Magic, it was considered he was the second best point guard to ever play the game.
So do you think Isaiah Thomas is better than Steph Curry?
No. I don't.
So what are we talking about here?
No, but listen. Just because I think Isaiah Thomas isn't as good as Steph Curry doesn't mean that the argument still isn't valid that against the top 10. Because when you get to the top 10, both sides of the ball are incredibly elite. Incredibly elite. In fact, let's go to the list right now. I'll just name 10 players, and you tell me if you would take him off. I'll just name 10. We can do this right now. In fact, it's time. This is where the controversy starts. We'll go ahead right now. Michael Jordan, is he better than him?
No.
LeBron?
No.
Kobe?
No.
Shaq?
No.
Hakeem?
Hakeem is great.
Hakeem Olajuwon. No. Top 10 in blocks. No, not top 10. Leader in blocks. Top 10 in steals. At his
great.
peak.
Yes.
Great. No, not. Don't say great. Don't say great when you're talking about him.
All-time defensive player. Yes, Hakeem Olajuwon. Yes, absolutely.
So is he better than Steph Curry?
I don't know. Let's revisit that one. I want to hear the rest.
Okay, fine. Wilt Chamberlain.
I don't know if I can say he better than. Nah.
Yeah. Mind you, Wilt also led the league in assists
I'm going to say no.
Okay, thank you. Good gosh, I'm so glad. If you had said yes, I would have ended it right here.
I'm saying I don't think Steph Curry is better than Wilt Chamberlain. No.
Thank you.
No. I don't think Wilt Chamberlain is better than Steph. I said that wrong.
Wait, what?
I don't think Wilt Chamberlain is better than Steph Curry.
Do you agree with this?
I don't.
Wilt Chamberlain better than Steph?
He's not even better than Bill Russell, bro.
Oh my God! Nope. Don't say whatever you got to say. Say whatever you got to say. Say whatever you got to say.
Before, I want you to go because I know you're ready. You're ready.
I'll finish the list. I'm gonna get back to you. Because
I want you to say what you gotta say. I want to hear what you got to do.
Because I'm gonna finish the list. We're going through, and I'm gonna address the Wilt Chamberlain thing.
Okay.
Let's see. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh no, he's not better than Kareem.
Not better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Okay, cool. Then we get to Magic Johnson.
No, he's not better than Magic. I don't think so.
Not better than Magic. Larry Bird.
Not better than Larry Bird, no.
Larry Bird. How many is that? That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It'd be like 8, 9.
That's 8, 9. Did we say Kobe? In fact, oh wait, no, actually no. Let me not. No, let me not cheat myself. I got a list. I got my list right here.
Okay.
Yep. Michael, LeBron, Wilt, Kareem, Magic, Kobe, Hakeem, Larry, Shaq, Tim Duncan.
Okay.
And the last one's Tim Duncan. Because everybody else that you said is no.
Oh, no. Tim Duncan is definitely better than Steph Curry.
Outside of, it's hard to argue that list. So
the only player that we've said, that anybody on this panel has said is better than is not better than Steph Curry is Wilt Chamberlain.
Right.
And Wilt Chamberlain is a guy that, again, led the league in scoring, led the league in assists, is arguably the greatest rebounder in history, is arguably the greatest defensive player in history, is also arguably the best athlete in NBA history, as well as is arguably the best scorer in NBA history. And can make an argument for the best big man. Ticks the box on every single aspect of his game. They banned dunking from the free throw line because of him. You understand that? Him and Kareem made it so that you can't stand in the paint.
Right. My thing with Wilt Chamberlain is the era that he played in. One, he got dominated by Bill Russell. Bill Russell used to cook him for fun. Literally. Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell probably the only two bigs that could rival each other. And Bill Russell got the best of him more than half of the times they played against each other.
They were the two dominant and best players in the league.
And Bill Russell has 11 championships to Wilt's 1 or 2.
And that's because Wilt ran into a situation that LeBron ran into for the majority of his career, which was while I'm the best player, outright. Understand this: Wilt Chamberlain didn't win MVP when he averaged 50 and 25. That season when he averaged 50 and 20, the same season he scored 100 points a game. He did not win MVP, but he averaged 50 and 25. Bill Russell's numbers were like either 18 and 20 or 20 and 20. So inexcusable. So as a player, every night, individually, Wilt outplayed Bill at every turn. It was, you know what? Wilt was held by Bill Russell on average when they played against each other in the finals or match up to 36 points.
Right.
So, and even with him being held to 36, still outplayed Bill at every other statistic. Both the eye test and the stats show that he was dominating Wilt Chamberlain as an individual player. Bill Russell, say what you want. Again, I'm not, when I say this, I'm not discrediting him as a leader. It still takes a leader to lead a championship. That's unequivocal. I understand that. I get that. It takes a special man to get everybody to work like you need them to work. And Bill was one of them. Wilt to a very lesser extent, but Bill was one of them. But Bill Russell, on average, had 3 to 5 All-Stars in that time frame. The NBA was not as big, and there weren't as many teams. So because of that, the consolidation of talent around the league was very condensed, and it was common to be very condensed to one or two players. John Havlicek, Bob Cousy, Dennis Johnson, all at one point in time played with Bill Russell for a number of years. The majority of the All-Stars from that time were from the Boston Celtics. Every All-Star every Hall of Famer, almost every starter became a Hall of Famer because they were on Boston. And because they were most of them were the best players in the league. So if Wilt had that same level of help, mind you, when he got to LA and he went to play with Jerry West, this is
Elgin Baylor.
No, don't do that. Elgin Baylor retired. Elgin Baylor never got a chip because he retired right before. And before then, he was already injured, bad back. Everything was wrong about him. So the high-flying Elgin Baylor was gone. He had actually went into management and coaching afterwards. They won the year after he retired, and he never got a championship. So Elgin Baylor was old, out the pasture, like Shaquille was when he got to Boston. When Shaquille got to Boston, that was Elgin Baylor when Wilt got to the team. Already getting ready to go. So but even still, had Gail Goodrich, had a good core around him. And what happened as with another dominant star in his prime, he got 2 chips. So, and I believe he beat Russell, finally. When it was a even match playing field, Wilt's contributions resulted in the championship. We know, and you know, don't know you too, you know this as well. One player can be great, but it takes a team to win it all, no matter how great you are.
Right.
And Wilt Chamberlain was a player that he was asked to do what he said himself. He did whatever he was asked to do. If he was asked to score 50 or however many, he did that. And when he was asked to pass, when he got to LA, he did that, which is why he led the league in assists, averaging 18 and 10. So he's shown he's adaptable, he's coachable. On top of that, as an individual player in his prime, had a deep bag in the post. You understand that? But even with that, it gets overshadowed by his strength, which in reality, his strength, even his finesse play was so strong and just moved people out the way that people just attributed to, he just muscles people. Even though he had a fadeaway like Dirk had a hook shot, could shoot consistently from 15 feet out, had a turnaround, had a drop step, had a up and under, and could pass out the post, and he played for the Harlem Globetrotters, so he was light on his feet. So all of that, you can't tell me that Steph is at that level. You can't. If you can, make an argument. If you can, make an argument.
My argument is, and I've already said this, you can probably clip this because this is going to be a hot take. Actually, play the little sound because I need the sound for this one. This is going to be a hot take.
So here we go. All right. Let's see what you got.
Put Wilt Chamberlain in this era, he is Clint Capella.
You're kidding. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Put him in the era with Tim Duncan, with Shaq, with Hakeem. That boy he would not be averaging no 50 and 25. That is a fact. Yes. Heard what I said.
50 and 25, no. But a clean, no. He wouldn't be averaging 50 and 25 because there's better talent now. He would be averaging 28, 14, and 5.
He sounds like Joel Embiid to me then. And is Joel Embiid better than Steph? Hell no.
Excuse me. Let me rephrase that because apparently I don't think you heard. Joel Embiid just now won the scoring title, correct? 30 points?
Right.
That was his best year, correct? And you say he plays bully ball, correct?
Who, Joel Embiid?
Yes.
Not enough.
No, we know. We call him the most dominant big man in the game today, outside of Giannis. Majority of people during the season, during the MVP, maybe not you, but during the MVP conversation, when it was getting talked about that he should deserve it, people were calling him he's the most dominant big man and the most dominant center in the league today. Outside of Giannis as a big man, he's the most dominant player.
You're missing one man. You're missing one. You're not even mentioning his name. It's making me upset.
Who?
He's better than Embiid.
Jokic?
Yes.
No. Jokic is a better player. I'm talking about, again, when I say dominance, I'm talking about sheer, like,
force.
Similar that force. Similar to how we talk about Shaq.
Right.
Because that's how they were talking about Joel Embiid. That's how they were talking about Joel Embiid. Not saying that he's at that level, but in terms of just, you just can't do anything with him when he wants to do something. And more often than not, it was in reference to his power. That's why they talk about dominance more so than not. Now, my definition of dominance is a little bit different, but hey, regardless of which, he was talked about in that conversation. But Jokic was a better player. So you can't tell me that if Joel Embiid's doing that to, let's face reality, the majority of the NBA, which is small ball, and their big men have no elasticity. Most of them jumping foul. Most of them can't even defend like they want to because of the rules predicated to the offense. That Wilt Chamberlain will not be able to put up easily the same numbers that Joel Embiid would in today's game. When asked to do nothing else but stay in the post.
Let me rephrase. I don't mean, when I say today's game, I don't mean literally today. That's not what I mean. I mean like the era of the big man. If Wilt Chamberlain played in the era of the big man, he would not be no 50 and 25. He would not be this huge dude. Like, he would be a good player, absolutely. But I don't think that he would not be a top 10 player if he played in the era with Tim Duncan and Shaq and all these other big men. I do not believe he would be a top 10 player.
Say what? Say what? Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Say what?
All right, so my reasoning for why Wilt Chamberlain would not really be that good against the prime of the big man is just because of sheer more competition, honestly. Because in that time, it was literally, as big men, it was literally just Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. There were no really other huge names as centers back then. But we talk about Hakeem Olajuwon. We talk about Tim Duncan. We talk about Shaquille O'Neal. If you drop any of those three guys in that same era that Wilt Chamberlain was in, they would do probably about the same thing, if not more. Shaq would be ridiculous in that era. Oh my gosh.
No.
Shaq would be Wilt Chamberlain. Literally. They would talk about him as if he was like, so I'm like, in that same era, like, you can drop 50 and 25 against like other guys that aren't Bill Russell in that time. But like, if you're going up against other big men that can also drop 50 and 25, you're not dropping 50 and 25.
Okay, hold on. Wait, time out. We established that Bill Russell is a better defensive player than the majority of bigs today, regardless of what you want to say about his offensive ability. We've established that he's one of the greatest defensive big men that would give any big, regardless of what era, trouble. So if he's able to put up on average 36 on him.
But Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain's like 7'1", 7'2". Bill Russell was 6'9".
Okay.
We're gonna put that in his perspective too.
I'll give you one even better. An old Wilt Chamberlain went up against a prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won championships. He went toe to toe. In fact, he dropped 36 and 42 in the finals, in the playoffs against him. In the very biggest moments that we talk about, that we need to see a player produce, an old over-the-hill Wilt was dropping 42, 32, 20 and 20 on Bill Russell. He was the only guy that consistently blocked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's shot and gave him and that was old Wilt Chamberlain, who they were still talking about as arguably the best big man in the league outside of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who again was in his prime. So if he's able to do that at an advanced stage against a prime Kareem with Oscar Robertson by his side, what makes you think that he wouldn't be able to, in his prime, dominate when he could have been an Olympian in track, high jump, long jump, averaged 48.5 minutes in a season when there's only 48 minutes in the game, never sat down, incredible stamina. The game on average was faster paced if you look at pace of play numbers. So he was running up and down the court even more. And if you want to talk about having the load as the one sole option on a team, he showed clearly that he can manage that and flourish. So what makes you think that somebody like a Jokic, who that's not diminishing his skill, but somebody like a Jokic, somebody like a PJ Tucker, somebody like a Draymond Green, in both today's era, on top of, we can go back to the 90s. If you want to go with Patrick Ewing.
90s. 90s to like early 2000s is probably the era, the best era of big men.
Well, I would say more 80s and 90s. 80s and 90s. 80s and 90s. Because 80s and 90s, then you got, again, Kareem in his prime, Tim Duncan, when he came into the league, he hit his prime kind of the 2000s, but he's still part of that. David Robinson as well. Ralph Sampson before the injuries. So there was a better pool. The majority of prime big man talent came between the 80s and 90s. That's when most of them were in their prime, just about.
So to me, oh no, you're gonna still make
a point. Go ahead.
Okay. So to me, like, if Wilt Chamberlain is only really going up against Bill Russell and then a prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at one point, that's like 2 Hall of Famers right there. You just named like 5. So I'm like, if you're really good in that era, like you're a Hakeem Olajuwon playing against David Robinson and all these other guys, I'm going to put you ahead of Wilt Chamberlain just because Wilt Chamberlain only really played against like 2 of those guys.
Wait, hold on. So the benchmarks that I'm using for his ability to play are 2 of the greatest big men in NBA history. That, again, he faced multiple times because of the way it went.
Bill?
Yeah, Bill and Kareem. It wasn't like it was, again, you got to understand, also with condensed teams, they consistently played against that same talent, and consistently he was putting up those same numbers. Against Kareem, it was the same thing.
Right.
So if he's able, against the best of the best, against what we arguably call the best center in NBA history.
2 of the best, though.
No, we're
not even in the top 15.
Yeah, but we call Kareem top 2 or top 3, whatever you want to put him. He's top 5 blatantly, and many argue not the best big man the NBA has ever seen. Many argue he's the best big man the NBA has ever seen. And I'm comparing, right. I'm using that as the main benchmark because he faced him multiple times. Multiple. Not just like 2 or 3, like 7, 10. And he put up those types of numbers against him. So that's a valid point to say, if he's able to do this against the best big man, arguably the best big man we've ever seen in his prime,
okay, that
means that anybody else that doesn't reach that moniker, it's going to be one tough time for them to be able to mitigate anything that he's able to do. If he's putting up these numbers consistently against, again, the best of the best. Because you can say there's a wider pool of talent. Cool. We'll put this in boxing terms. If I'm Muhammad Ali and I fought Joe Frazier 3 times and I beat him twice, and Joe Frazier's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and then you compare and say Ali wouldn't be able to do the same thing against bigger big men in the modern day boxing because of the size or whatever, and there's a bigger pool of bigger people.
Right.
When Joe Frazier, in going through, the only quote unquote big person that he lost to was in his prime was George Foreman and Ali, and every other quote unquote big man that he faced that was of similar height, he knocked out. That's not a discredit to the era that we're comparing him to in terms of the newer era, but that is a testament to say that if y'all aren't even reaching the best of the best that he faced, they are comparable to your own size and abilities. What makes you think that when I compare the guy that fought them to you all, that you're going to be able to as well have that same impact when your skill set isn't even as equipped as him? When the majority of big men that Wilt faced, in comparing to the best of the best, were the best of the best all time and had it on both sides of the floor and never wavered. We've seen Clint Capella falter and get bullied. We've seen many big men. We've seen so many big men come and go. One of the most quote unquote consistent big men that we have is DeMontis Sabonis once he hit his stride. And you think he's doing anything against him? You think Hassan Whiteside?
That's why I'm like, no, not this era, because this era of big man is kind of soft. I'm not even gonna lie to you. There's not even that many kind of big.
Okay, so outside of Shaq and David Robinson, and Akeem, we'll put Akeem in that era as well.
And Tim Duncan, you missed a huge one in Tim Duncan.
Okay, right? Tim Duncan. Will Chamberlain would dominate Tim Duncan, even though Tim Duncan was one of the greatest defensive players ever.
I can't agree with that.
Yeah, I can.
But we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, yes, you do, because he played another Tim Duncan in Welch in Bill Russell. 6'10", incredible timing.
7 foot.
Again, Tim Duncan
with
is one.
With a way better skill set than Bill Russell ever had.
Who?
Tim Duncan has a better skill set than Bill Russell.
Yes. But defensively, offensively, yes. Defensively, they're comparable.
Yes, defensively, yes, they are definitely comparable.
So in stopping Wilt Chamberlain, Tim Duncan's not going to be able to do that. And offensively, and offensively, Wilt Chamberlain as well was viewed as the best player in that era, in part because he was one of the best defensive players of that era, in spite of Bill Russell being in the same era. So
Bill Russell's not as good as an offensive talent as Wilt Chamberlain ever was.
Again,
it's not. So, I mean, honestly, what did you say? Bill Russell averaged like 18?
He was either 18, 15, something like that. He might have even averaged 22 for his career, something like that.
In that era is abysmal. That is terrible. I can't risk like offensively, like he doesn't really have somebody going at him the way Wilt was going at Bill Russell. Wilt didn't really have somebody that was really going at him, like other than Kareem. Like Kareem is probably the only other guy that rivaled his offense. But I'm saying Shaq would rival his offense. Tim Duncan would rival his offense. And then whoever else we were talking about, David Robinson would rival his offense because he has a scoring championship.
The one thing that Shaq had on Wilt Chamberlain, the one thing that people say Shaq has on Wilt Chamberlain would be quote unquote size, 300 to 275. Wilt was 275, and over the hill, retired Wilt was, I believe, bench pressing 500. Shaq's biggest bench press has been 460, 470. On top of that, Wilt never had the work ethic problem that Shaq had. Wilt was also a better passer. Wilt also had more footwork. Wilt also is considered the strongest player in NBA history. If you want to say Shaq is stronger, it ain't no stinking blowout. If you want to say they're comparable, then they're comparable. So the one thing that Shaq has in terms of power play, he wouldn't be able to do, and he ain't even taller than Wilt. So everything physically that would give Shaq an advantage over anybody else, it doesn't work. Wilt's just as tall, Wilt's faster, Wilt's stronger, Wilt jumps higher, he's a better rebounder. On top of that, he's better at not getting baited into fouls. He would be able to legitimately guard Shaq without having to hack him. And he's more conditioned, so Shaq would run out of gas way sooner than Wilt would. Because Wilt took punishment on a daily basis and wasn't getting calls for it. He just played through it.
From who? Who is he taking this punishment from?
Wilt lifted a 265-pound, 6'6" small forward with one arm. All because he was annoyed.
That didn't answer my question. Who was he getting bullied by?
Who?
You said Wilt.
Exactly. Wilt never got bullied. Even against people that you would consider bullies.
You said that people were going at Wilt.
People went at Wilt.
Nobody was really going at Wilt offensively.
No, you're mixing up talent with aggression. The same aggression that Shaq had, regardless of who he played, because again, he was the best big man in the league when he played. And there wasn't anybody talent-wise outside of Tim and the King. Nobody else talent-wise was competing with Shaq. It just wasn't. Even still, the man was getting hacked to kingdom come by everybody. Wilt had that same level of aggression against him in the entire league, yet was more durable, didn't get winded, didn't lose himself like we saw Shaq at times, and never had a time when it was, in some situations we've seen, there's been less situations where Shaq has faltered in his individual play because of the way defense was played on him than we've seen with Wilt. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. So when it comes to Wilt's ability to play against a player like Shaquille O'Neal, whose main antithesis for his ability to be successful is his strength and athleticism, when somebody outclasses him and all of that, coupled with better discipline and better fundamental play, what the word are you going to say? Other than there's nothing that Shaq would be able to do that Wilt wouldn't be able to counteract and or do on his own volition on the offensive end. In my estimation.
We're going to have to agree to disagree. But Shaq's not even really my main guy, honestly. I think Hakeem and Tim Duncan would give Wilt Chamberlain issues.
Those two would be the biggest.
I don't even think Shaq would even be the biggest one because he's skill-wise, he's not even on the same planet as Tim Duncan and Hakeem, because basically Shaq would just back you down, do a drop step, and dunk all over you, basically. So, I wouldn't even really put Shaq in that. Tim Duncan and Hakeem Olajuwon would give Wilt Chamberlain issues. That's what I believe. And that's it. We can agree to disagree, though, because, we still got other stuff to get to.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll agree to disagree. Again, I'm not a guy that vouches for old heads. I just understand history and put it into context. This isn't me trying to just say, the newer generation is just better. No, I'm not saying that. People who think I say that are stupid. What I'm saying is the context lets you tell the full story of why somebody would be successful in an era. And there's a legitimate argument that can be made. So, with this all being said, to wrap up this whole show, who in the world do you think is going to be able to win the finals next year? People are making big predictions. I want to hear you all's predictions. Who's got the best shot at making it to the NBA finals come next season?
Don't know.
As of now, I would say coming out of the East, the Bucks. And to make it out of the West, until shown otherwise, I'll go with Golden State at the moment.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yep. Until shown otherwise, I'll go Golden State at the moment. But we don't know how Kawhi is going to come back, so I feel like the Clippers can also be a dark horse in that discussion. So I feel like the Clippers will definitely be in that conversation as well. But I feel like the East, it'll be the Bucks. It'll be the Bucks as long as everybody's healthy. And in the West, I'm going to go with Golden State for now. But I could definitely see the Clippers as a dark horse. And depending on what the Lakers do, I'm still not counting the Lakers out. As long as you have LeBron James, I'm not counting you out.
Understandable. Mitch, what you got?
I got Bucks and Warriors. I like everything Dono said except for that last point about LeBron. As long as you have Russell Westbrook on your roster, you don't have a chance.
No, that is true. Against you again.
If you have LeBron and he gives you a chance, Russell Westbrook going to take that away.
If he does not adapt his game, he's just further diminishing. Now we're gonna see what Ham's gonna do with him as a coach. Whether he's gonna make it so that now there is no capitulation. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'll get you for somebody else. I think Ham's going to be that type of coach, and I can't wait to see what Los Angeles is going to do with that new culture that's probably going to be set with Ham as essentially having the reins, which is phenomenal. I love it. But in terms of who I think is going to go to the finals, are y'all forgetting about Denver?
No, actually, that was honestly the team I thought about behind the Warriors. But
it's not. It's not
They don't have enough defense for me, and then I'm not the biggest Jamal Murray fan, to be honest with you. So I think that they still need to make some changes before they can really be a contender, because as good as Jokic is on offense, he's probably marginal. I think he's marginal on defense.
No,
he's a big body. He's not disciplined, and he's not an athletic kind of guy. So it's like they're going to need to get – who's their backup center?
Their backup center is –
which isn't that and DeMarcus Cousins is kind of the same thing. He's definitely not playing defense at this point in his career. He probably wasn't even playing defense when he was in his prime. So I'm like, if the Nuggets can get a defensive center that can either back up Jokic, or that you can get a starting small forward or power forward that's really good on defense, and then you get a better point guard that's not like always offensive oriented, because I think that they have too much offense and not enough defense. So for me, that's why I don't like the Nuggets. But I think that they're definitely an honorable mention for sure.
I think if the Nuggets were healthy, they would have beat Golden State, strictly on how Jokic was playing by himself. So with that, if everybody's back and the Warriors are being viewed at by the majority of experts and analysts rather, as the favorites, I would then say that the Nuggets should be favored to come out the East with how dominant Jokic is by himself, coupled with once he gets help back from a fully healthy Michael Porter Jr., fully healthy stinking Jamal Murray, and the rest of that supporting cast that is deep and can score and can run with anybody on the roster. That would be my pick. That and the Clippers, with the notion that Kawhi and PG both are healthy for the entire season in the playoffs. I think the Nuggets probably got the best shot, and then the Bucks out the East. Now, again, I still have the Bucks winning it all. I still got the Bucks winning it all against nearly every team in the league because they're constructed similar to Boston. But Jason Tatum, the problem that they're having in Boston with Jason Tatum, they're not having when it comes to Giannis. Giannis will give you 30 and 12 consistently and dominate every single night and not play down to his competition or play down to his value. So because of that, that's why if Tatum did that, boom, I'll be saying Celtics would be the finals favorites every year. But because that's not the case, I got Boston every year. I'm going to have Boston until somebody proves me wrong. I got the Bucks every year getting to the finals out of the East at this point in time.
I think that, just to piggyback off of that, I think the roles thing is a really big thing in the NBA. Like, if you know your role, it's so much easier to go out there and know what you need to do and to just hone in on that. Like, and the Bucks do that perfectly.
Yep.
Like, Drew Holiday knows his role. He scores sometimes, and mostly he's going to play defense and he's going to get the ball to his guys. Mm-hmm. Chris Middleton, when it comes down to clutch time, even though Giannis is the guy, I'm the guy in this moment. You got to get me the ball. I'm going to score the ball. I'm the shot creator. And then Giannis, he's going to play defense. He's going to be that steady hand, and he's going to always be aggressive. And even when they double team him down in the post, he's going to kick it out and get it to his guys. Mm-hmm. Because that everybody knows their role. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. On the Celtics, I cannot say the same. And that's why earlier I'm saying De'Aaron Fox can't just drop in there and fix everything. Because I feel like nobody really knows their role on that team other than Jason Tatum. And even Tatum with his inconsistent play, it's like Jaylen Brown might even at some point believe that he's better than Jason Tatum and then try and do too much. And then it's just, the whole thing is just too much for me. Like, they don't really know their roles at this moment.
Again, all of that would be mitigated if Jason Tatum averaged 27, 25 like he was in the regular season. If he does that, then you get that whole, okay, we know exactly what our team identity is in terms of who's got the keys. Why and other teams know that and have to respect that. Now, having a offense where essentially anybody can be the guy, it's great. But the reason why it's so effective on the Warriors is because there's an out and out number one. They don't got to worry about. They don't got to worry about if Steph's going to play down, and we know what Klay's going to do. If Klay just happens to get hot in a game, hey, cool. Okay, yeah, you feed him, absolutely.
Feed him, exactly.
Thank you. But it doesn't go to we have to feed him now because Jaylen Brown is the only one giving us some consistency. Now it's if Jaylen Brown's playing great alongside Jason Tatum doing what he's supposed to do in the similar role that we see with the Warriors and Steph and Klay. Okay, then hey, now you got yourself a completely different offense that is nigh unstoppable. Because now you got one 6'6", one 6'10", strong, athletic, big players with soft touch and range. Should be, in theory, put them in position to be the best team in the East. But it never does. Never does. Despite anything that they do, it never does. So that's what the problem is with Boston. Are they going to fix it next season? We're going to have to see what's going to happen as the weeks go on in the offseason. Oh, it's going to be incredibly interesting. Well, what is it? 100? How many days is it going to be to the playoffs? Or not to the playoffs? To next season? I know we're starting off early. It's going to be a while.
I'm counting down to the draft. I'm not counting down to the season yet.
Oh yeah. We could see some big trades during the draft. Well, who knows what may happen? But again, until then, we're going to still be here doing our thing, being on the show, and having ourselves a good time. This has been the Welch Report. Yeah, no problem, brothers. This was phenomenal. So glad y'all were able to come on the show. I can't wait to have you all on again for other segments like in the NFL, like with off-season moves. We're going to still break down a lot of the questions with other teams during the season or during this past season, like the Suns, like the Nets in later episodes. But this has been the Welch Report. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Got Knicks Podcast. Thank y'all for joining. Go subscribe to them. I'm gonna tag them in the comment in the description below. You know what I'm trying to say. But this has been the Welch Report. Peace and love. We out, y'all.